Okay, everybody. It sounded like you were ready. We've got a short video to watch. There are a lot of moments in this gentleman's career that mean a lot to a whole lot of us out here. And this is going to be the way that we set the mood to really kick off Megacon Orlando 2021 the way it deserves to be kicked off. You ready for this? All right, let's watch the video and let's bring him out.
The mission of the enterprise is to seek out and combat alien life.
I've got to rationalize which way I should start to talk to you. When I left the house, there were 7 burly people in Los Angeles trying to destroy the rats that have come into our house. Okay? So there's a rat explosion in New York and in Los Angeles, at least. I don't know about Orlando, but rats. You know, you think, oh yeah, I heard about rats, and then there are rats, and the rats came into the kitchen. That was what my wife kept. But she just didn't do it, once. For 2 weeks, it's been, And we have a bowl on the center island of the kitchen, and in which she puts fruit and stuff like that.
Oh, no.
The bananas were gone. And we have cameras around, and there's one in the kitchen. So Elizabeth rolled it back, and she discovered the rat. The rat would jump into the bowl and eat the thing. And we've got 2 attack Dobermans. Well, actually, we've got 2 Dobermans. What they do is attack each other. So they slept while the rat ate. So we called a firm in, and they said, oh yeah, okay, well, when you have 1 rat, you probably have 500. So we've been busy at the rats. Now, the reason I bring it up is this company that's ferreting, I shouldn't have said ferreting, is discovering where the rats live. They live all over. They live behind the stove. They live behind the refrigerator. They live under the floor. They live in this attic. They're surrounded. Rats all over. And they know where that bowl is. And I was thinking as I was being driven through the maze of trying to get here, we're rats trying to get out of the maze. The other thing I thought about when I was just hearing from back there was a little more than a year ago, when the COVID thing just started. I had been somewhere, and I was on my way to England to start a tour. And the Apollo Theatre, the famous theatre in London, was sold out. So it's Monday night, Monday morning, in a sold-out theater in the Apollo Theater. And I'm resting because I got the evening performance. So I turn on the television about 10 o'clock in the morning, and Boris Johnson is saying, all right, no more than 10 people can meet at one time, and no gathering of any kind is allowed in London because of the COVID thing. And I'm in England, I'm in London, to be at a theater in front of 3,500 people. So now I don't know, whether, like coming through the curtain here, and that's why I'm reminded of it, coming through the curtain here, or just as I arrived, I thought, who can find this place? And if you can find it, you're exhausted. It's so far away from anywhere. And look at all of you here. So when I went to the theater, the Apollo Theater that night, and I stood behind the curtain, I'm thinking, is anybody going to be there? And I step out, and 3,500 people are there. I got chills. Just talking, on the other hand, it might be the air conditioning, I'm not sure. But there were 3,500 people, and it was a love fest. It was, oh my gosh, we're here, we're with you, and it was an extraordinary moment for me in the theater. These 3,500 people who decided to come and stay in the theater. And it's incredible that so many people would work this maze to get here. And I'll bet you walked, right? I didn't walk. I had a cart. Should have been there. But even with the cart and with Dalton, my security man is kind of good looking. He fits the role perfectly of security. Hello, my name is Dalton. I'm here to secure you. So, yeah, that's my way of saying thank you for coming that long distance away, and I appreciate you being here. So, it's beautiful. What did you say?
We love you.
I mean, yeah, no, it's like the rats. Oh. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful. I'm so. You might not be able to tell it with the tears running down my eyes, but it's a very moving moment. It is a very moving moment of a group of people and this person up front here. I'm overwhelmed by it all the time when you come by, and I'm dazzled by the attention and the fact that you say those words is very meaningful to me. Before I ask you to ask me questions, a couple of other things that I thought you might find interesting. One is that during this COVID thing, this lockup, we were all locked up, and I'm in this house, and not as locked up as many people, because I have a nice, big house, and I have a car, and I have horses in a distant place, and I'm able to go ride my horses, and then a Zoom machine, and I'm able to work. So it wasn't terrible for me. But in addition to horses and room and stuff like that, I had the most profound experience that I want to tell you about during this COVID year. So there's a friend of mine. His name is Rob. And I call him Rob, but I will now call him Rob the Poet. And I didn't know Rob was a poet. He's an executive. And over the years, we would meet. He'd come from New York, he'd come into Los Angeles, and he'd say, I'm here. And we would meet at a Chinese restaurant. And we'd have duck. Okay? So it became our meeting over duck. We would meet and we'd talk and we'd laugh, and we became really buddies, really great pals. And it was over duck. And one day, Rob brought Dan, who had been a musician with Rob at university. Rob had gone on to other things, but Dan remained a musician and had, I think the group he had was called They Would Be or They Will Be Giants. Does that mean anything? God, Dan's better known than I. Dan Miller, do you know that? For God's sakes, I didn't know that. That's wonderful. I'm so glad he's well known. So Dan Miller, Rob, the poet, and I, over Zoom or the telephone, started, because at that dinner, Dan said to Rob and myself, why don't we make an album? Because Dan knew that Rob was a lyricist. I didn't know Rob was a lyricist, but when we started, yeah, what do we do? And I don't remember how it came about, but I think it was Rob who said, why don't we do songs about your experiences, some of which he had read and some of which he had seen in some shows that I've done. I said, great. And Rob and I would talk over the phone or over Zoom, and I'll give you an example. He said, you know, you told a story about leaving home. So I said, you mean the story where I'm in this car, little cheap English lightweight car, and I'm crossing a bridge, I'm leaving home. I'm leaving home. And I'm going to the New York of Canada, which is Toronto. And I'm on my way from Montreal, where I've worked and studied. I've worked and I've been to university and did a lot of theater in Montreal. And by happenstance, an individual said, you should come to Toronto to work. And actually Ottawa, but I'll shorten the story. So I went. I'm on my way to Toronto. I'm leaving home. I'm going to knit something in that I'm just thinking about as I'm telling you the story. My granddaughter is leaving home. She's 18. She's on her way to university. And her mother, my daughter, packed up all her clothes the last few days. And she's leaving. It's the end of an era. It's like you're stepping over the bridge. It's like me. I hadn't thought of the unity of it, but I'm driving across a bridge in a cheap car, and coming at me was an 18-wheeler, and I'm looking at it, and that pillow of air that those trucks push took my car and swept it, and it almost went over the side, and I thought, I've got all my belongings in the back of this car, and me, if I went into the water, it would be like I'd never been born. But I survived it. I went on my way, and we wrote a song called The Bridge, in which, in life, we all go over the bridges of life, and we're all meeting 18-wheelers coming towards us. And we've got to survive, and that's the name of the song. So that's the album. It was called Love, Death, and Horses. It's now called Bill. And it's the first number with Joe Jonas accompanying me is I Feel Guilty, which is the theme of the song is I feel guilty all the time. And one of the lines which I love, that Rob wrote, I feel guilty even singing this song. And it's the album, the first number will be released, you know how they do it for publicity, will be Joe Jonas's. Then Brad Paisley contributed his accompaniment to me on a song, slips my mind now, and so this album is like, I think it's great. I think it's like one of the great things I've ever done. On the other hand, there was a play written some years ago that was a big hit on Broadway called Boys in the Band.
Yeah.
Do you remember the writers' name? Can you think of the writer's name? Okay, Daffy and I. But Boys in the Band was a big hit, and the author had a second play. We thought it was his next play, but we soon discovered, after we opened, that it was his first play. And he learned a lot from this play to write Boys in the Band. But I didn't know that. So now this actress and I are on an apron like this, curtain behind us. Sold out audience in Los Angeles for the opening of this play. And it's all dark, and we're standing hand in hand. And the curtain's going to go up, and the lights are going to go up, and the play begins. And as we are holding hands, she leans over to me and she whispers, "Are we in a disaster?" The lights go on, and now we got to perform. So, my feeling is, this album, which the three of us have such, and even and the label, Universal is the biggest label in the world. Everybody's excited. This thing keeps tickling in my brain. Are we in a disaster? So you'll tell me in about 3 months, when the album's going to be released in September, you'll tell me whether I'm in a disaster or whether it's Boys in the Band. Okay, so that's what I have immediately to tell you. I'm doing a talk show called I Don't Understand. They said to me, this network said, "Would you like to do a talk show?" I said, "Yeah, you know what, I'll do a talk show, but I want to call it I Don't Understand, which is everything I don't understand." Which is everything, because I don't understand anything. Oh, do we understand anything? Well, for example, see, you got me going. For example, like we're all contributing subject matters. So I was talking to a guy working on the house. He was patching up the holes where the rats go in and out with cement, with concrete. So I was talking to Larry, and he's working, and he says, "You know, this is," I said, "what's the proportion of cement to concrete and the sand and the boulder and the thing?" He says, "Well, it's a new cement." He said, "You know," and I said, "Look, because concrete and cement, the Romans worked these soaring arches made of concrete. There was no rebar. It was all made of concrete, and they're lasting till today, while buildings in Miami are falling down. They're not 50 years old. This is 2,000 years old building. Things are standing, and we're building modern day, and they're falling down." And I said, "How's that possible?" And he said, "Well, the Romans had this formula for concrete." And I said, "What was the formula?" He said, "They lost it." They lost the formula to concrete and cement. And it was gone for, I don't know, 1,000 years? And they're only rediscovering what the Romans knew 2,000 years ago. How is that possible? I don't understand. And that's going to be one of the subjects of this half-hour show. Like, how the hell does the Roman Empire lose this thing? I mean, they're known for their roads and their buildings, soaring arches, and they discovered the arch and the arch pressing up against each other, so it stayed. It was monumental. We lost it. Can you imagine a guy saying, "George," or "Romula, Romula, what was the formula for that stuff we put together?" And the guy says, "You mean the stuff that we made the concrete arch and the arch?" "Yeah, what was that stuff? Well, how did we put it together?" And the guy says, "I don't know." Imagine the moment when they said, "We want to make this, I keep getting the terms, concrete and cement." Imagine they want to make the concrete, and they said, "Yeah, let's make the concrete." And somebody discovers they don't know how to make it. It's like chicken soup that your mother makes. She would never tell you the recipe. You put a little noodle in there, and a chicken, and a little salt and pepper. Okay. I'm sure you have questions. Oh my God. So we have a microphone there, and so somebody's going to do that, right? Is there somebody here who's going to conduct that? All right, somebody stand up and ask a question.
Real quick,
Are you
everybody,
coming to shoot a
if
picture?
we can just ask
Wait a minute,
that you make sure.
wait a minute, where are you?
Oh, I'm over here.
Well,
Stage right. Stage right, Captain. The voice is coming from off stage.
thank you.
I was just jumping in momentarily to ask, please, if you could not touch the microphones out of consideration for everybody else. That was something we missed
Just
mentioning
spit.
earlier.
Just spit. Don't touch it. Go ahead, baby.
Hi. So this is kind of a random question, but
Wait a minute. With the mask on, you gotta go slow.
there's a word
Lee,
in
slowly, as an adverb conditioning goes.
there is a word in the novelization for the first Star Trek film that Gene Roddenberry used to describe the relationship between Spock and Kirk. I think it's pronounced Tahila.
It's what?
I believe it's pronounced Tahila. It's like, you know, the Vulcan word.
Oh, it's a Vulcan word.
Yeah, it's like T-H-Y-L-A.
If you wish, my dear, I would not be the first one to disparage what you just said. To highlight. So Gene Roddenberry said to us, your relationship is to highlight.
Yeah, it's a word that he basically, I think, invented just for that, just to describe them.
Wait a minute, slow down.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm short and it's hard to stand on
Yes,
my toes.
but you've got a big word.
My question was, do you know if it, I guess that answers my
Wait,
question.
have you left to highlight? That's it?
Well, what I was wondering is if you had ever seen it scripted, which I guess since you didn't seem familiar with it.
Wait a minute. You do the same thing my granddad does. Get all excited, something and I said, I didn't understand a word. What you're saying is really good. I don't understand a word. So I've got you up until Tahila describing the relationship between Spock and Kirk. Got it.
It was in the novelization.
Well, slow.
It was in the book. It was in the book.
You know, actually, I want to give you a slight hint that you might be able to use. You're very young, and you might be able to use what I'm about to say quite often. You can lower the microphone. You don't have to stand on tippy toe, which is Vulcan for raising your height. Now!
Thank you.
Now you gotta scoot.
I was wondering if it had ever been scripted, if it was ever in a script that you were asked to read.
Let me tell you something. Uh-oh. How old are you?
I'm actually 34.
Well, it's hard to tell with the mask and the girlish excitement. So I won't find fault with you. It's just that with my granddaughter going off to school, my words of wisdom were, Kaya, you know, you're going to go, you're a pretty girl, you're 18, you're privileged, you got to be careful because there's some streetwise people out there. She says, I'm streetwise. I said, Kaya, you've been living at home, you've been going to school, your parents take really good care of you. You're not streetwise. Okay? I'm not streetwise, and I can't tell you the number of times that I've been taken advantage of. So, I want to tell you something. What's your name?
Laura.
Lauren?
Laura.
Laura. Laura. Sometimes people will fool you and tell you things that aren't true. Like the word date. Okay? Neither Leonard nor I ever, the Vulcan language, you know, this is archaeology. The Vulcan language started long after our show was over. So you can see how that might not be true. And you're 34 and you should be streetwise.
It's in the book that Gene Roddenberry wrote.
He lied. I've had you, that's enough. We have the best time, it's the best time. Okay.
Hi, Bill.
Hi.
I wanted to know if you would be able to reflect on your legacy with the Twilight Zone and working with Rod so many times, but also, since we're in Orlando, I wanted to know, have you at any point been on Disney's Twilight Zone Tower of Terror?
No. Although I shot a movie years ago here at Disneyland, and it was like a chase movie, I forgot what it was, but we were running around at night with the park closed. So we went down into the entrails. We went down tunnels and then there was, is it still there where you tap with the, make notes, lights with your feet? No, right? No. It's fallen into disuse. The salt air finally got to it and rotted the whole thing. So I probably know bits and pieces of the park more than people who live in Orlando, but I don't know the show. You know, the word legacy has always intrigued me. What's your legacy? Well, my opinion is nobody leaves a legacy. I mean, you know, they're tearing down the statues of people who thought they were leaving a legacy. The statues are already down. Nobody leaves a legacy. Everything erodes either in a day, a week, or a year. It's all gone. It's all dust. It means nothing of the legacy. I am leaving a legacy. What you do leave, and this just happens to be something I said. Here's an interesting little side note. I was asked to come to Mar-a-Lago long before the event. Mar-a-Lago was being used for the Red Cross, where there were 1,000 tables, 10 people at each table. Each had contributed, each table had contributed money to the Red Cross, and I was one of the people that they contributed money to come and see. So I was asked to speak. And at the same time, my dear, dear friend, Leonard Nimoy, had died. And that morning, I was supposed to be here in Florida in the evening, but that Sunday morning was the funeral. And I had to choose which to do. And I chose the Red Cross, and what I said to them was, there's no such thing as a legacy. The legacy you leave are the good deeds you do that reverberate and repeat itself for the end of time. It's good deeds are your legacy, and usually the good deeds are forgotten 5 minutes after you've done them, let alone, 100 years, 1,000 years later. But who knows what lives we're leading as a result of a good deed that somebody did 500 years ago.
Hello. I read that back in
Oh,
your...
wait a minute.
We switched?
I made a mistake. I'm going to come to you.
Okay.
But there was, I could tell. I didn't hear the words, but the sound was irate. What have I done? Which is the name of a number in one of the songs in the album is What Have I Done? Right. What? Oh, yes. This is Dalton. Handsome Dalton. The mic's not on. No, I'll tell you what you should do. Watch this. This is an executive decision. come around here and go to that microphone. Run. That wasn't a run, that was a... That's my man.
Wow, all of this just to find out.
It better be worth, this question better be worthwhile.
I really want to know, I watched you on Shark Week with Josh.
Oh my God, Shark Week. Did anybody else see Shark Week? Nobody saw
It
it.
was awesome. And I just wanted to know if you would ever do that again with Josh, without Josh. You know, if it was that impactful for you.
He's a funny guy, John.
He is a funny guy.
Well, just to bring you up to date, Josh Gates runs a show. What's it called, Adventure or something or other? What's it called? Adventure?
Adventure. Well,
Adventure.
he's Angus. I'm
So
not sure that's his position.
he's got a job. I don't know how he got this job. Anywhere he wants to go in the world. Anywhere, anything. I do a show on the History Channel called The Unexplained.
Yeah.
And one... 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And one of the segments of The Unexplained was about these Russian students who went into the Ural Mountains, big mountains, somewhere in Russia. And they went in the middle of winter, 20 students, and they pitched a tent, apparently, and they disappeared for about 3 or 4 months until the winter was over, and the Russian soldiers came looking for them, and they found them. And they had obviously cut their way out of the tent they were living in, ran with their night clothing on into the blizzard, into the snow, and they all froze to death. Their bodies are mutilated, and nobody can explain why they were all scattered around. Nobody could explain it. Okay? So the unexplained took it, and then, no, we don't know. Could have been the automatic winds, I think that's the name. Where the winds come down, they make sounds, drive you crazy. Or it could have been the tribes, or it could have been, but there's no answer. Okay? I meet Josh Gates, or he calls me, he says, "We don't like to do that." So now, Josh Gates, and I look at a program. Oh, there's the Josh Gates is in the Ural Mountains, on the hill where the tent was found. And it's 50 degrees below zero, and he's in this hazmat suit with a big, and he's saying, "I don't know why they would come out here," and he's walking around at 50 degrees below zero. This guy is out of his mind. So the coincidence of my show, sort of, and I'm on stage, you know, saying, "Well, terrible mystery, we don't know," and he's there at a blizzard with 50. It's Josh Gates. So he called and said, "I'm Josh Gates," and "Oh, yeah, right." And we'd like to we're doing Shark Week, and we'd like you to be on Shark Week. I said, "Well, what do you do?" He said, "Well, we'll go diving for shark." Now, I've been scuba diving for years. I've got the open sea, or whatever it is called, open ocean, open water license for years and years. So I do what the amateurs do every 2-3 times a year. I put a tank on my back and hold back the panic until I get used to and I swim around and, "Oh, look at a little goldfish." And before we go in, the dive master would say, "All right, so there's black," now this I don't remember, if you could correct me, "there's white tip and black tip sharks around the reefs. The black tips, forget about it. No, white tips, be careful." Isn't that, are the white tips you want to be careful? Okay, it's white tips. So we go down there. Oh my God, there's a 5-foot white tip shark. Be careful, go get it. Okay, you got it? No, okay. That's the way I learned about sharks. So now I'm on a boat in a scuba suit and the whole thing, and they're chumming. They're throwing out meat to attract the sharks, so they'll have something to film. They got 5 cameramen. And I'm looking down in the water because you jump. You hold your mask. thing, and you go, pop, and you jump into the water. And there's sharks. And the dive master says, all right, so the important thing to remember is the most dangerous time is going in, and of course, coming out. Going in, you're sort of facing, you know. Going out, you can just hear a shark saying, look at that asshole. I'm now down 50, 60 feet of water, and tiger sharks next to the great whites. There's the tiger shark, okay? They're 18 feet long. They've got mouths. No, that's not an exaggeration. This big. And then the Bahamian divers are like out of their minds. They rush towards the shark and they push the shark aside. As it's about to eat a camera or a cameraman. Or worse, me. Incredible, life-changing moment. Get out of there, and we had a great show. Very funny show. Actually, he's such a Star Trek fan that he said, why did you say, do Captain Kirk as your dad? I said, no, man, I don't. If you want to do Star Trek, you be the Star Trek guy that you are, the entranced shark guy, Star Trek guy that you are. And I'll keep saying, will you stop that? Will you? I don't. And I ended the show by saying I had warp speed too. And we all thought that was funny. I don't know what the audience thought. But after that moment, and during the week of shooting, and afterwards, we became really, Josh Gates and I really became good friends. And not so long ago, he said, where else would you like to go? Oh. Anywhere in the world. Anywhere. Am I out of time?
No.
How am I doing for time? Okay, great. Oh, that's wonderful. I hope you're not irate. Otherwise, I'll rate you.
I've met you a couple times before, and you've always been
I've forgotten each one.
so.
Yes.
Is this less irate?
It's time. It's time! But you guys don't watch MMA, so you don't know what I'm doing.
I read that during the original series...
Wait, what?
During the original series...
Yes.
You attempted to pitch a few episodes and wanted to direct one. My question is, what made you want to go from being in front of the camera to behind it?
Power! I don't remember wanting to direct this episode of Star Trek.
I heard a rumor you were set to direct the last one before it was canceled or something like that.
I don't remember that. That's something I would remember. No, I don't recall. There was just too much work as an actor. You can get by. I mean, there are people who direct themselves and are playing leading roles, but you're risking the. An audience tells you whether this album. You're going to tell me whether it's good or bad. I think it's good. You're going to tell me when you hear it, I liked it, didn't like it. And yours is the last word because that's what we're doing. So the creative person needs a little feedback from, in this case, an audience as to how you're doing. So that feedback may come through an executive who has a good idea of, or the producer who may be talented, or anything like that. You need feedback, because you get too close to the stuff. Oh, God, that moment was great, and it's not. Surprise. No, you're wrong again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Sadly, we've got one more thing, Bill.
One more thing.
You talked about legacy earlier.
Yes.
You said something very interesting.
I'll tell you, with that basket in your hair, you look beautiful.
Well, didn't expect that kind of Captain Kirk interaction this evening. I wanted to say that you mean so much to so many of us because of so many little and large acts of service that you have done over your life, whether it is your charity horse shows that benefit those with special needs, the meet and greets that people have done at conventions over the years. The reason I got involved in conventions in the first place, getting on stage and hosting things, was what you did for my autistic younger brother who came to see you at a show like this.
Well, thank you so much.
That's beautiful. We've missed a lot of things during the pandemic, right, everybody? We also missed something very important, and that's this gentleman's birthday back in the month of March. So I figured if we could get a party full of people here,
It's almost September now, for God's sake.
I did my best. I think we've got a surprise for you.
Oh, are you kidding?
If we can bring this up.
Is it a horse? Yeah, it's a little guy in a white suit. It's two people wheeling a coffin. The guy in the white suit's gonna put me in the coffin.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Winner. Birthday to you. Oh my God.
Oh, come on. This is incredible. What's your name? Chef K. K-A-Y? Just K, letter K. Chef K. What's your name? Romero Obasto. Is that pretty close? That's fantastic.
It's all chocolate, you did it.
Wow. All right, so what we got to do, here's what we got to do. You guys got to kind of file by and see it. Turn it around, exactly. Turn it around. And there are not enough plates for everybody, right? Who's going to get the cake? And especially, who's going to get me? Is that edible? Me? I'm edible? Give me me. Just pluck it. Well, maybe you better not pluck it. You pluck it, I'll suck it.
Whoa! Oh wow.
Oh, that's so cool.
Oh,
The resemblance is astounding.
Watch this. I give great mouth.
We're gonna try to find the most orderly way that we can make this available to everybody. We're bringing plates upon plates upon plates. We have.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.